Well, good morning. Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We have a very special guest. We brought in real estate brokers, real estate agents. We brought in industry leaders, CEOs of companies. We brought in people from Disney, all kinds of things. But we have never had an interior designer like we have now. And now, by way of New York, New York, she is the host of the HGTV show One Week to Sell. She's one of the most sought-after interior designers in New York. She's been on The Real Deal, the New York Post, InStyle magazine, to name a few. She's the founder of Taylor Spellman New York. She was named as one of Forbes' recession-born entrepreneurs. She has a slogan: every home has a story. We help you tell it, to love it, or sell it. She is a sister, a daughter, a friend, and likes pizza when no one else is looking. Please stand up and make some noise for the incomparable Taylor Spellman.
That was the best intro I've ever had in my life. So thank you for that.
I aim to please. Good morning.
Yeah, that's a great way to start the day.
It is. It's a little energy on this beautiful Tuesday, and New York is just and we were talking off air about how special New York is because you have all the fashion designers and the performing arts and everything is it just brings a ton of energy that New York brings. And through the pandemic, it really kind of lost its luster, and now it's all of a sudden coming back. Tell us a little bit about how New York has kind of navigated a little bit of the pandemic from your purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I remember before the pandemic really hit, someone asked me, how do you think this will affect you and your business? And I was like, well, I mean, it's New York. It won't affect me, So that was a real education because obviously none of us knew just what was coming and the ramifications of what was coming. I feel like it was a really scary time for a while there with the market because everybody vacated the city, and the fact that it has bounced back in the way that it has is it's very New York. It's like even in the worst of times. I mean, I moved to New York a couple of days before 9/11 hit. So my experience has always been, kind of going through the ups and the downs, but that is one of the many amazing things about New York, our ability to bounce back.
Yeah, it's almost like if you had a symbol, New York would give you the middle finger every time something like this happens. Like, we got this.
Yeah, or just in line at the grocery store. Like, no matter what, that's the symbol.
You're absolutely right. You have an amazing show called One Week to Sell. Or you're the host of One Week to Sell, and I was watching a lot of clips and I think it's really, really well done. Tell us a little bit of how either that idea came up or how you were approached to host it.
Right. So I had done a show. I had done a lot of stuff for $1 Million Listing with Ryan Serhant on Bravo. And then I had another show on Bravo called Yours, Mine, or Ours. And so I had just kind of been in the mix for a while. And HGTV approached me and said, if you were to have a show, what would your idea be? And I had thought about my parents who could not sell their own home, and they had had it on the market for over 2 years, and they just couldn't sell it and couldn't figure out what the problem was. So I came in and I said, all right, guys, like I'm not good at much, but I'm good at knowing how to design a home for sale. So let me just try it out myself. Just do what I say and let's see what happens. And it ended up selling in 1 week. And so that's kind of what gave me the seed to think about, how could I help other people who are probably in the same situation? When you're looking at your own home, it's hard to discern what the issue is. Whereas I feel like when an outsider comes in, it's a little easier to look at it and say, okay, yeah, here's what the problem is.
Yeah, it's I always, when I go to sell my homes, I always have an agent represent me, even though I'm an agent, because you become emotionally attached, and usually you lose deals or get taken advantage of.
Exactly.
Based on not having that person, the professional that really has your best interest.
Right.
As far as interior design, and well, we really haven't had, I don't know, like in South Florida, right? So the real estate market's really hot. New York's market is starting to come back and be hot as well. And when you're looking at the market, we haven't needed as much the interior design, even though it maximizes your profit and your purchase price. Tell us a little bit about, like, because we're going to get into this market where I think it's going to slow down a little bit, and we're going to need a little bit of tweaking and things, making it show nice. Because the only listings on the market right now that are staying on the market are the ones that aren't, don't look so nice.
Done well. Right. I think that was to a degree, a misconception that people were saying to me, well, since everything is just flying off the shelves, you don't need somebody to come in and do anything to it because everything is selling. And obviously there was a short period of time where that kind of was the case. But I think if we know anything about the real estate market, it is that being cocky about what we know is not a smart way to operate, because at any given point in time, the rug's going to be pulled out and things are going to shift. And that's what we're seeing here. I think there was that little bubble where, yeah, don't worry about it, it'll sell no matter what. And then it became, all right, everyone's actually just becoming overall savvier. So that when they see something that looks terrible and you kind of walk in there and think, I don't need to do anything, I can leave it like this and it looks like crap, and I'm going to charge top dollar. People are savvy enough to think, well, no, you still want to feel good about what you're purchasing. So we've still been brought in on a ton of projects because everything needs to look absolutely amazing because there is so much activity.
So is your main your interior design firm, is it focused on developers? Is it focused on, one-offs, homeowner? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so we basically split everything 50-50. So half of the firm focuses on interior design and then the other half focuses on staging. Because really they're two very different ways of operating. Interior design is about the person who lives in the space currently and how do you and your family live and what works for you guys, and we bring that sensibility to the home. The staging firm side is all about how do we really, really quickly turn this space around for the potential buyer. And those are two different ways of operating from, and they're also certainly two different time frames. So from the staging side, yes, we have relationships with all of the major developers in the city and outside the city. And then we also work with the top brokers who will call and say, I have this one place in Tribeca and it's good, but it's not where it needs to be in order for us to put the price tag on it that we want. Can you come in and we'll do that one off for sure.
So for those that are listening, and they're looking at their house and they're saying, I need something, I don't know what it needs. I mean, obviously they should hire a professional, but maybe some interior design tips. I know you spoke in your show about stretching that dollar and such, and giving that maybe luxury appeal, without the crazy luxury price that some of these New York apartments have.
Right. And that's a tricky thing because it's a really hard pill to swallow when you're trying to offload your home. You're trying to sell it. You're trying to get rid of that cost and get money from it. So when we come in and say, okay, great, that sounds good, but can you put in 20 grand before you go? No one really wants to have that conversation. Sometimes it's very necessary, obviously. That said, there are certain things you can do yourself at your own home. For sure. I mean, the one that's very obvious that everyone kind of knows about is kind of taking away personal affects. If you have a huge piece of art with your family, and all of you guys are sitting on a sand dune wearing a white button-down shirt and everyone knows this photo and it's in your living room, take that down. No one wants to see it. No offense to you. but that's not what the potential buyer wants to see. And then there's less obvious things. Like one thing that we always talk about is bringing in all white bedding, especially to the primary bedroom. You know, people just want to see the space and they want to envision themselves in their own oasis. And if all the bedding is white and clean and fresh and new, that really helps the buyer imagine themselves there. People get really caught up in, well, I like it this way and I like this floral pattern. It's like, you know, no one cares what you like. That's the point now. We're in a new space. This is not about what you like. This is about what the potential buyer is going to like. And that is primarily based around envisioning themselves in the space. Another great kind of quick trick that people struggle with, because, you know, you've put in your own time and energy into, say, the like deep maroon color in your dining room and you loved it and it was great and so on and so forth. But that literally is a blocker for people, because they're thinking, well, I don't really like that color and I don't know what I would do. And for whatever reason, so many people struggle with the concept of, well, I could just paint it myself and it's easy. So you can take that into your hands and do that yourself very quickly and in an affordable fashion, so that you don't give the potential buyer any of these roadblocks, any of these things to think about that they don't need to think about. They just need to walk in the space, see the space for what it is, see the square footage, get excited about it, and think of themselves there. And also, to finish out that point, I think the common thought is that white paint everywhere is good, but in actuality, a light gray or a light tan is a better fit most of the time.
You know, and the funny thing is yeah, most people go with the, you know, the sterile hospital
Right.
white,
Right.
you know, on everything, and that all, because, you know, sometimes it makes it look you know, nicer, cleaner, whatever. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, having a little warmth does go a long way.
Yeah.
You know, it's because we have very similar, you know, well, we have similar objectives, right? What, as a real estate broker, you know, I want to make sure that I can get the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And the best way to do that is to hire a stager, or, you know, hire an interior designer, you know, if they're deciding whether to stay or sell. You know, what goes into the process? Because, you know, you did mention that, you know, hey, it might be $20,000 upfront cost, or those kind of things. And I know all interior design firms are different in the sense of their pricing structures and such like that. But you know, why would a real estate broker, or why should a real estate broker engage in a interior designer or stager?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really all comes down to ROI. We will literally talk to a broker or a potential client and say, it doesn't make sense for you to put more than $5,000 into this. It doesn't make sense for you to put more than $30,000 into this because of what the return on your investment is going to be. But that math is very available to all of us, you know, and in New York City, it's a little bit different. I mean, even in South Florida, but when you can look at your comps and you can see around you, all right, this particular unit in my same building, or this particular home on my same street sold for X, but I can see that that's because they redid their kitchen, or I can see it's because they took the time to rip up all the wall-to-wall carpeting and get that step out of the way, and therefore they could then you know, mark up the home accordingly. So I think that studying your comps and studying everything you're seeing around you and figuring out, okay, is it worthwhile to put in this elbow grease or not? And we always are very honest with that, with the client about that as well, because sure, we'll take your money and make it look amazing, but the only reason why you would ever do it is so that you can meet the market where you think you can meet it.
Sure. And you look at it, and New York is this glamorous place, and you look at these beautiful, multi-million dollar apartments, and you come into South Florida and you look at Miami, and they have all these luxurious apartments and condos on the beach, and such. But for that, that homeowner, has a single family home
Yeah.
who's got the maroon wall, and such. Do you have any things that maybe instead of, because a lot of people are deciding that, what, I can sell, but and get a lot of money and more money than I ever dreamed of for my house, but where am I going to go, right? So a lot of people are staying in their homes, and
Right.
maybe more, if you have some more interior design tips, for those that are actually going to stay in their homes.
Right. I think we talk with a lot of clients about that. So they're thinking, all right, well, I'm not sure exactly if I stay or go or what's going on. And then once they do, a good amount of research, they realize actually I have it pretty good where I am. Um, so as far as that goes, if you've done that work and you've realized, okay, this is a great spot that I have, one of the biggest things that we then talk about is there any room for rearranging the floor plan? And I think that people are super invested in their own spaces, but they get very excited about the idea of reimagining what they have. Therefore, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get to stay with the neighborhood or the friends or the school system that you're familiar with, but at the same time, all of a sudden you've knocked down two walls and you have this amazing open concept kitchen, dining, living space that you hadn't seen before, and now you are, feeling like you're walking into a new space. Um, and then basements are another thing we do a lot of work on. Once somebody has realized, okay, yeah, I can stay here, and then reimagine the basement, and everyone's all of a sudden super excited because you don't really know where your kids are. You just know that they're somewhere in the basement safe, and that's always a good feeling.
Unless you put on a double bolted lock and keep them down there, which
That might be a good
but
feeling too. Depends
I
on
know
who you
nothing
ask.
about basements, but that sounds like a pretty good idea, I gotta say. I got 3 girls.
Absolutely.
But it's funny because you always want what you don't have, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into New York or the Northeast, I remember going into basements and I'm like, wow, this is the best thing ever,
Right.
because
It's
you
like a
could,
whole
like,
another house down there.
yeah, and it's like you could just, your parents would have nothing to say. Like you could
Yeah.
just, whatever, run wild, I guess.
Right.
It's very cool. So, I always, I'm always interested in the reality TV show part of it, right? We kind of sensationalize what real estate is and what interior design is, and such. And, sometimes we make it look a lot easier than it may be.
Yeah.
Um, you know, tell us a little bit about the actual, the show, and, the production part, because
Right.
I think like people don't realize how complicated and how hard and how much time and effort goes into those
Yeah.
the one show.
Right. Everyone would be like, wow, was that so much fun? And I'm like, fun isn't actually the word for it. It is grueling work. But the product looks super fun. And that's, I guess, what we're going for here. Yeah. So I shoot the show with it's actually my best friend from childhood. She has worked for me for years and years and years, and we were best friends before Girl Scouts. It's like called like Daisy Scouts or something like that.
That's awesome.
Um so we have been best friends forever, and we kind of ended up jumping in and working with me because I had just called her so much at her job, and she was like, I'm really should be getting paid by you at this point because I'm at my job, but I'm only talking strategy with you. So she came on board, and we kind of took everything to the next level. And, I basically do all the things creative. And it was nice to have her kind of in the background managing every single thing because, for a real life client, there's so much to manage in a very short period of time, especially when it comes to interior design for sale, because like you said, you're doing what you can for the least amount of money in the shortest amount of time to get the most amount of money. So it's kind of counterintuitive in a way. So the show really was 1 week to sell, and we really only had 1 week to get the entire place done and back on the market, and then, you know, ideally sold within the following week. So it was really really intense to actually have my team and I go in there, paint, get wallpaper off, rip up carpeting, and do all of that stuff in the amount of time. There was very little sleep, and luckily minimal fighting, and that's one of the things I care about.
So was it successful? Like, I mean, I know, you know, listen, I love to see everyone successful, but not all of them could be successful. Even, you know, putting the best effort and your best foot forward.
Within each home, you mean?
Yeah. Like, were you
Yeah.
able to sell it, you know, within a week afterwards and such?
Yes, we were able to sell almost all of them within a week, but if they didn't sell within a week, they still sold. So that
Right.
was because some of the homes that they brought me were very, very challenging. My mom was like, "Why would they bring you this home? You know, they're kind of setting you up for failure." I was like, "Mom, that's the literal point of the show. If I can't
Right.
do it, no one can." So,
Right.
we were quite pleased that in the end, no matter what, they all did sell.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. So I always end the show on two questions, and I don't know if you watch streaming series, but what's your favorite all-time streaming series, like on Netflix, Hulu, whatever, and what are you currently watching?
So let's see. I only got into television watching within the past probably 2 years. And the pandemic has taught me how awesome it is to watch television. So I would say the first one I've been watching, I have a very, very good friend of mine from college who is starring on season 3 of You on Netflix. So
Oh,
I
awesome.
started watching season 3 because she's starring in it. And it was so good that then I went back and I watched season 1 and season 2. So
Oh, that's
that's
funny.
been my new addiction, and is super fun to watch. And then Yellowstone, does that count as streaming? Yellowstone is the other one that
Absolutely.
I've been obsessed
Oh,
with. Oh, and then Succession, because
yeah.
that's
I I love
the best.
Succession. I mean, not as many people know about it, I think,
Yeah,
but I mean that new series, that new season was just awesome. I don't know if you've seen the whole thing,
I've
but
seen every single one, absolutely.
all right, yeah. No, I love that because I'm in the business with my father, so
Mm-hmm.
you know, I look at it and I look at the personalities, and you know, fortunately, unfortunately, we have
Yes, exactly, for better or
similar
worse.
personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's amazing.
it's pretty interesting to see the dynamics. So yeah. Well, Taylor, thank you so very much. How can we find you?
You can find me at uh, www.taylorspellman.com. You
Okay.
can find me on Instagram at Taylor, I think it's underscore Spellman.
Oh.
Um, and then, yeah, from there, or just Google me and you'll just find out pretty much everything.
So yeah, we I googled you, you know, and I looked around, you know, but I was only able to see little parts, the parts that you probably wanted everyone to see. So
That's true. I don't do much personal life stuff, which is
smart.
probably too boring for the public anyway. So,
So thank you so very much. I really appreciate you coming on. Do you have another show coming up? Or is it still airing? 1 week to
so
sell.
right now we're streaming 1 week to sell on Discovery Plus, so you
Okay.
can see it there. And then we're simultaneously working on a bunch of new projects that are in the works. So soon enough, you guys will all know what those are, and I'm super excited about them.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be
Yes,
thankful for, and you know, it's really nice to actually have people come over this Thanksgiving. You know,
exactly. And hug and
because last Thanksgiving, I don't think anyone wanted to do Thanksgiving. It was weird.
right. We're in a
But
little bit of a better place, so let's
y-
all be grateful
yes,
for that.
yep. Everyone stay safe and be well. And thank you very much again for coming on
Thanks for
Breakfast with the
having me.
Broker every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.